In this video, I'm going to be timing the key events on JK's lifeline. I'm going to be mapping out in a sort of a timeline of events using his lifeline and revealing how I've come to the conclusions that I have in a previous video that I made, shocking predictions about JK's future. Please do watch that. And, I've been getting a lot of questions, so I just really wanted to clear up a few things here and also elaborate and reveal a few more things about what JK's lifeline shows us. The lifeline works its way from in between the index and the thumb, and it works its way generally down towards the wrist and often wraps its way around underneath the ball of the thumb. Now, at the beginning of JK's life, when he is, a child, essentially, before he's 10 years old, we can see some significant growth here. This is academia, this is speech, language, writing, this is music, potentially. These areas of academia point towards Saturn, the place of duty, societal contribution, career, academia. We can absolutely see this happening from a very young age. From, maybe even sort of 4 or so, he was a really fast learner. And all these little upward strokes that you see towards um, the ulna of the hand, towards inside of the Jupiter mount, these are all areas in which he's gained a great sense of achievement towards improving feelings of the self, essentially gaining confidence, gaining value in what he is capable of. These are known as ambition lines, and these are exactly what they are. And you can see a significant one here from about the age of 13 here, a real boost. And this third and final boost really kickstarts what looks like a tremendously difficult section of his life for a good 8 years. So, having done a little bit of research alongside what I'm seeing in the hands here, it's obvious to me that this excelling is, auditioning, getting accepted, and then absolutely working his socks off and living almost like something of a double life. There's twice the effort, twice the energy, twice the output here. It's stressful. It's a great deal of hard work. It's very, very strenuous, physically demanding on his body, and probably in some ways took over his life. There wasn't a sense of independence here because he was dependent on the system that putting all of his time, energy, efforts, investing in. And I have to say, it's not the easiest hand to read because JK has a simian line on both hands. It makes him immensely intense and laser focused. And this is actually, in part, just how he's so able to achieve. As long as he can get his head down, as long as he is provided the tools, he is extremely capable of achieving anything. Now, what's really interesting is that just after the age of, if you look at the lifeline here, it's joined on to the headline at this time. So he's still not quite claimed independence. And if you look at just around about the age of 20 here, there is just a significant boost again towards feelings of the self, towards this rise in ambition. And it coincides with a really sort of faint line here again, just rising up. So what we're seeing here is all this hard work that began from auditioning in the first place has finally paid off. These feelings have finally paid off. He's really making money in his 20th year of his life. This was a boom year. This was a year where he truly excelled and really made something of himself. And felt that by gaining the status, the newfound wealth, success, it really enabled greater feelings about himself, something which he absolutely struggles with, being that he has an inferiority complex. And I've explained more about this in previous videos. And what's really nice for JK is that after the age of 21, there's a significant feeling of independence here. It's almost like he's finally able to do what it is that he wants to do. And it's still not true independence. I think there's a real sort of struggling in a way as to what it is that he wants to do. Because there's again another greater feeling of independence that occurs probably around about 22, 3, and this is where the heart and headline begins to break away. These are true feelings of independence. He's really able to do a lot more by himself at this point. Now, you might be wondering why I've made this little line right here, and that's because, as a rule of thumb, I wanted to share with you all a way to time events on your own hands. If you take your Saturn finger just at the edge and draw a line, I mean, don't draw on your hands. Take a picture of your hands, and make a straight line directly down onto your lifeline. This will be pretty much, it's fairly accurate. It is a guideline. It is fairly accurate. 25 years of age. Partly I made this video because I'm just getting so many questions about timing events on the hands at the moment, and I thought that this would be really useful. One person said to me very recently, if lines change on the hands, then is there any point? Do your predictions change? Absolutely lines do change on the hand. In particular, things like relationship lines, because more than one person is involved in order to make that line work. There are more variables at play, which is why a minor line like this changes all the time. The lifeline is the most unchanging line in our hands. Now, if we're seeing an event like this significant, life-changing, shocking, it's quite literally, obviously life-changing, and we're seeing it way ahead. We're seeing it, 20 odd years ahead, um, or even 15 years ahead. It's a greater sign that this is going to happen. It's a greater sign this is fated, that it's more difficult to change this potential future. It's so far ahead, and yet it's still showing up. So that, in conjunction with the fact that the lifeline is it's the most unchanging line in the hands. The lifeline appears on our hands when we're a fetus at about 8 weeks in the womb. The lifeline is quite literally um, carbon copy of both of our parents combined. And then as we grow, as we come into our own, it changes very, very slightly and becomes quite unique, and it becomes our own. But as I say, it changes very, very little. So someone said to me very recently, maybe you got your timing wrong with your recent video prediction about what he's going to go through. Maybe he's actually going through it right now in his life. Now that's a really interesting comment, because I noticed something about his hand. It did make me question myself. I always do that, and it's healthy to question me, and I'm really grateful that you are. Please keep doing that. And I came to the conclusion that I'm going to stand by my prediction. But I did discover a couple of things. Inner Mars, just underneath the lifeline right here, above Venus, underneath the lifeline. This is inner Mars. This is a place of drive, aggression, motivation, anger. When we need to get the job done, fight for those who we love. When we are frustrated and we just need to make a change, we rely on this area. When we need to fight battles, when we need to repair our bones, legal battles, this is the useful area. But also, sometimes decisions are made out of anger. Sometimes our life is changed out of just a moment of, well, rage or impatience, jealousy, something that is just within, and we make a snap decision. Now here, I can see a line that creeps up from inner Mars, very, very powerful feeling here, and look at it, it hits the lifeline, and where it does, it seems to kind of trail off and attach itself to the heartline. This is showing me, at the age of 23, there was a significant event here. Now, being that he has, he's a simian line holder in both hands, it's difficult to interpret this correctly, because you could, on the one hand, say, well, this is the heartline crashing down through the head and lifeline into inner Mars. Or you could say it's the other way around. The correct way to properly interpret this is to discover which line is stronger and work from there. Where is this coming from, in order to find out where that energy is coming from. In truth, it's coming from both. This shows us that there is some resentment, anger, and even some psychological scars here. He's harboring some hurt, and there are going to be issues in close personal relationships unless these are not worked through and understood. Now, something happened at 23 to cause this. Now, at the age of 25, there looks to be a significant effort made to improve his life, and achievement again. Ambitions are fulfilled and achieved here. We can see the rising, productive, fortunate, constructive. These are all really positive signs to see efforts like this rising up from the lifeline. This looks to be about the age of sort of 26 or so. There's a significant rise here. Now, around about the age of 27, it seems, which is where he is in his life right now, you can see there's something of a bit of an obstacle. It's not major, but here's the but. It's not major in terms of how it's, affecting the way he lives his life. Look, you can see if you zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see it a bit more clearly. There's a little sort of, blockage here. There's an obstacle in the way, and it spells the kind of if we look at what we see on the fate line to kind of corroborate this, because in fact, he has 2 fate lines here. And if we look, you can see this little drifting line here connected and attached to the lifeline after the age of 39 or so. And if you look, this is connected to this future event. Now, at the beginning of this video, I'm pretty sure I mentioned that palmistry reveals how time is cyclical, how events can come back on us, how we can go through something in life and later on it can kind of rear its head again. And this is what I believe will happen. Whatever he's going through right now in his life is actually going to come back in some way to haunt him, I think. There's something that's connected here. No, I can't really get to the bottom of exactly what this is. I mean, I was not sure about it being a health issue. I think it's something more closely related to a complication around partnership, working relationship, love relationship, or a legal battle, something like divorce. It's something like that. Whatever it is actually in some way connected to whatever he's going through right now because there's a direct connection with this age of 27 and what occurs just after 39, around about the age of 40. It looks to threaten his career, and that's what's happening here at the age of 27. It's looking to um, impede his path, his journey, his purpose in life at the moment. Now, it's not going to happen because we can see the strength of these lines afterwards. They're fine. They're doing okay. It's just a hurdle in the road at this time. But at the age of 40 or so, you can actually see a slightly different story in terms of what the fate lines are revealing, because this is around about the age of 40, and you can actually see one of them coming to a complete halt. Now, the primary one, if you like, continues, and it continues with greater strength. Now, that might be because he's able to, he's not chasing 2 hares anymore. He's got 1 iron in the fire. He's able to laser focus that energy that he's got, which is something he's so very good at. So there might be something of a setback, but in fact, he rises from the flames at around that age of 40. I do think it might be short-lived for whatever reason because there is this massive obstacle ahead of him. Now, okay, again, it could change. This could change. This is not a new image, but I don't believe that it would have changed all that much. As I say, lifelines don't change all that much unless he's made significant differences to the lifestyle that he's living, to his lifestyle choices, to his environment, to the literal way he's living his life quite physically on a practical earthy kind of grounded level. What's really interesting about the lifeline is that you can see it kind of getting more and more sluggish, that then things change, and then this lifeline kind of says, "No, I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to move outside of this environment. I'm going to move," and that's what it looks like it happens here, which corroborates with what we see here. He's no longer taking on these 2 roles anymore. He's moving along this one singular focused path. He's changed his life quite literally. But here's the thing, where he is in his life right now. See this little here it is, this little blip here. That's what we're seeing, and I actually missed it last time I looked at his hand, and this is why I'm just really grateful that someone said, "Well, can you look at his hands again? Are your predictions going to change?" Um, no, not really, but I have discovered more. There's your answer. And when we look at this little blip here, what we see alongside it, and this is really interesting. Look, a couple of years later, 29 or so, you can see this little line that's connected here. Inner Mars, once again, kind of just above Venus here. So he's really fighting for what he believes in, for, what he loves and holds dear. You can see here this little line right here, and it creates this formation of a square on the inside of the lifeline. This is often seen on the hands of people who are isolated from society, hospitalized, imprisonment, um, working outside, on the fringes of society in some way, who are just actually not engaging with everyone else. What we see here is the need to fight. Here, this is a Mars line. This could be a legal battle that he is locked in at the age of 29 onwards. That is what I think will happen. There will be some sort of legal battle from 29 onwards. Could be something more physical. It is the right hand after all. It could be something more environmental. I think it's going to be probably illegal, but it could be possibly that if this is an injury and he's hospitalized. It could be, and there could be a need to fight, as in repair broken bones. I don't see that happening so much. But this need to fight is, it's lengthy. It goes on for a long period of time, and it creates something of a massive square over his life from the age of 29 right up to 40, 41. Now, there could be some health issues that arise from just the sheer amount of stress, in fact, throughout this time, culminating in what looks like um, that there's no longer a need to fight anymore for whatever reason. There seems to be a potential for a health issue at the maybe 43 here. He's working tremendously hard at this time in his life. Now, the fate line, I suppose I shouldn't really take too much away from this because this can and will change probably quite a bit, especially by this time anyway. But the hands really just show us, if you keep going the way you're going right now, this is what will happen. They are just a precursor to the potential of our future, which is ever changing. And to some degree, the hands really changing in great ways in some respects, and in other ways, not so much. So another kind of little hint I wanted to give you here, just so that you could look at your own hands and figure out timing in your own hands, is to do what I've done here. Now, what I want you to do is, take a picture of your hands, make sure it's flat on, make sure it's on a flat surface so that you can edit the image afterwards just to place a few lines on it like this. Now look at the lifeline, draw a straight line down it, right down to, you know, just past the middle of your family ring here and make a straight line. Now, where your lifeline begins to draw itself as a vertical line, not everyone's lifeline is, typically shaped like this. It's not going to be, this is kind of a rule of thumb, doesn't apply to everyone. But where the lifeline, generally speaking, starts to create its vertical descent, starts to become vertical, and we see that here just after this little 49 marker here. It's about here. This is around about the age of 50 for most people. That's what this means, because we're kind of entering the descent, the winter years of our life. The sun, in a way, is kind of falling behind the hill, if you like, which leads me to believe that he will travel probably about 47. Now, I'm not sure if I said these same things in my previous videos. This is an updated version. I'm much more happy with these predictions because I really have sat down and I've taken a long time to do this. And I feel like this is a lot more accurate. There's going to be travel again at around about 54 as well. Again, at least these are what the hands are telling me at this time, and I have no reason not to believe it, at least at the time that this image was taken. That's what the hands are showing me, and they're showing it fairly strongly. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, well, the numbers don't really add up here. That's because, they don't. I agree. The numbers, our years of our lives, are significantly slower until we start to hit 35 tends to be a very pinnacle year for us. And for a lot of us, actually, that's middle-aged. It might sound odd me saying that, but 35 is kind of the middle of the life. 70 in a lot of countries is the average age of death. In India and the UK, it's 77, I believe, and it's not too different in America either. Just after 35 on the hands is pretty much middle-aged. And, when we are younger, if we're 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of our lives. It's a long, long time. But as we get older, the lines in our hands show us that time in a way, the way it presents itself on the hands actually speeds up, which is why all of this space down here, reaching right up to the headline, is 35 years. And the space and time after this time is not as a larger amount of space, yet we've still got the same amount of time, or more, in fact, condensed, and that's because of the way we think and feel about time, how we react to it. Therefore, time displays itself differently on the hands. The way in which we think and feel very much affects how our hands convey that information. And one of the things I did want to mention here as well is the lifeline. It does show us some potential for longevity, but it isn't the best. And actually, what we really need to be doing is looking at all three major Palmer lines and cross-referencing what we see from all of those. The best indicator for longevity is, in fact, the heart line. After all, when the heart stops beating, we cease to live. He's 16, would you believe it? Let me know what your thoughts are on this video. Did you learn anything? Let me know if you've got any comments or thoughts about what you've discovered in your own hands, or if you have any thoughts about what I've said about JK in his hands. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do subscribe. Please do consider becoming a member as well. Also, please vote on the poll that I put up recently. At the moment, Blackpink is looking like the next band I'm going to be reading each and every hand of. I was really umming and ahhing about whether or not to put Stray Kids in the poll. Kind of wish I had done now. But what I'll do is, once a band wins that poll, I'll put up another poll. I'll put Stray Kids in them with the remaining bands and idols that didn't make it through, if you like. So far, Blackpink is in pole position. So let me know who you would like me to read the hands of next on this channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I shall see you on the next one.